Well, hello there. It's now 9:01 p.m. in the UK, and you're tuned to Damn Good Coffee Time. So keep it there, keep your dial right there, where it's hitting that perfect G spot, and hopefully I'll be able to, take you right up to the climax. So yeah, that's the middle eight there from Bananarama with I Heard a Rumour. I thought, what better a song to just take us right in today, and so that I can broach the topic. Is there truth to this restaurant filming spotting? I think that makes it very clear there, or not. What I mean really by that is to further elucidate and elaborate through the means of a real wonder tool called Twitter. A young woman tweeted, without going into much details in terms of names or specifics, but you can find those all out yourself if you want to. It's quite easy using what I like to call the net. Hi there, Guati. I hope you're doing all right. It's always good to see you here in the chat. Not quite sure if you're someone I know on Facebook or not, but if you're not, why not? I would like to know you. Thank you anyway for the comment. How are you doing there? So yeah, to get back to the issue at hand, I believe I have here a copy of the tweet, the original tweet, which was this is a bit of something that was kind of captured by somebody from who knows where online. This is the Twitter from a Goldie Chan caught up with somebody for a nice lunch at Arda in WeHo. That means West Hollywood. And David Lynch was filming and blocked off most of the restaurant, but they put it in one of the last tables. Looks like some kind of dessert, or I don't know what it is, but anyway, it looks delicious. It's not cherry pie. And that person, her tweet was up for 5 days actually, until it was deleted. And around that time, the website World of Real spread sort of news of this spotting of filming going on, and my view on that is that this Goldie would have probably started being people messaging her, asking, from the Twin Peaks sort of world of fandom and community, really, just what's going off. Did you see David Lynch? Can you tell us any more? Are you aware of this page I run? Are you interested in maybe doing an interview? This kind of thing. I actually sent a message to her saying, thank you very much. I'm glad you tweeted that and everything. And mentioned transcendental meditation. And I even started writing something about Ayurvedic medication, or medicine, I should say. Because, the Maharashi company connected to TM does make a variety of different tablets and powders and all this kind of thing, which, there's a whole host of things. And I've taken some, and I think they can be of use. But at the same time, I just put that in there just to be a little bit, just a little bit freaky. Putting a question which it may have made me. I just trying to kind of keep it different, but at the same time, thinking back, like now, I think, well, I could have perhaps maybe just not left that bit out or something. But you don't really know how people are going to respond. As far as this person is concerned, they. I think that they know what they're talking about in terms of David Lynch because from what I've seen of them on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook, they've been in Hollywood for about 10 years. Apparently, she's doing motivational speaking, something of that sort. But I know that in terms of any contacts she's got on her pages, etc., without going into any details, I mean, if you want, you can check it all out yourself, but just don't go stalking anyone or anything like that too much. So, I get the impression that she's sort of not exactly, a massive Hollywood insider, but she certainly knows people who are, or knows people who are involved in different companies and things like that within Hollywood. You know, she's not like George Lucas's best buddy or something like that, but I think even if she was, the reality of her knowing much about David Lynch or anything, you know, who knows? But I think she knows for sure who Lynch is. And I think that her tweet, she might have thought that only a few people would see it, like friends and things like that. And I don't exactly know how it got picked up on. Probably because she hasn't hashtagged David Lynch or anything like that. I don't know if you tweet and just mention Lynch, then will it be, will it get there in the results for Lynch tweets, basically? So yeah, I for other reasons as well, and like I said, I don't want to go into just discussing things that I've seen about people online through personal profiles and things. And I've seen, for instance, on Facebook, she doesn't want to add people that she doesn't know, for instance. I think to respect that, if anything that is public online on Facebook, etc., you can kind of look at it, but I don't think there's much need for me to start discussing somebody's, you know, ins and outs here. But from what little I know, I don't see any reason for her to just concoct a story and then just put it out there, something which isn't true. It seems highly plausible that this was something that was spotted. So, The Return, episode 4. Yeah, I mean it's one of the best episodes, probably. I think. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me just check one thing here. Just asking somebody something. So, in terms of that, in terms of the initial tweet, then my viewpoint is that I think that this sighting is valid and things like this. For instance, I've been onto different pages like the Lynchland Gang group, which I have full, appreciation and a lot of respect for as a great group to check out. But on there's a post about this, debunking this. And in terms of the actual world of real um, article and everything, I don't think there's much reason to look at all of that, and it kind of goes into a list of different things, back to things like Lynch is filming something post-apocalyptic, and he puts post-apocalyptic, sorry, and he's been spotted in Snoqualmie. People connecting that to when he went through that hot long period of having long hair and a beard, as in, I presume they're connecting that to having a post-apocalyptic look for Gordon Cole, which, to be fair, would make complete sense. I mean, I think that would work, but however radical, and Lower Den did say he was interested in making something radical. Hmm. So, I think all of that is the World of Real article is something separate, branching off from the initial tweet. And the tweet being deleted as well now, I think that's to do with not a case of like making, hiding something that should have only been a joke or anything like that. I don't think it was made as a joke. It was, um, it's more a case of like realizing perhaps the level of reaction you're going to get to something like that, and then not wanting to answer any of the questions that people are naturally going to start putting into your inbox, and then preventing people sending you messages on Twitter, for instance, which is the case in this with this person apparently. So I think a lot of people wouldn't want, unless as well, especially they're like heavily involved in Twin Peaks fandom themselves, they wouldn't really want to start giving people responses and elaborating. For instance, another example is if you were to elaborate on this, then you're really just falling more and more into the hands of people who are like me, or just maniacs who then want more and more and more, really. And so, yeah, it's quite understandable as well why it would have been deleted. But I think, on the other hand, there could have been a case of asking it to be deleted. Somebody writing to her from Lynch's camp and saying, can you please remove that tweet because it's sort of ruining the mystery. And if Lynch has been doing filming with different things, different places, etc., secretly, then revealing something like this makes people more eagle-eyed, especially obsessive fans, maybe even, which I'm sure there are in Hollywood or the West Hollywood area, and they're going to be even more, looking for the next thing that's being filmed. So I can understand why they might want it totally out of the annals of social media or just online media as a whole, etc. Really, because they want to be, making it close to the ground and just not being followed around by anybody. I don't think particularly that right now the mainstream media is necessarily going to be camping out in Hollywood to try and find if David Lynch is filming something. But when they were filming The Return, there were shots that were published in the Daily Mail of the scene where it was Mr. C at the motel from the outside. So, somebody got some shots there. And I presume it wasn't all just a setup. But, oh yeah, another thing that Lynchland Gang page was saying, if Lynch was filming in a restaurant, then he would have cordoned off the entire restaurant, and I don't think that's necessarily something which is, the case. or verifiable. If, especially in this case, this is quite a sort of upmarket, specializing in vegetable type dishes, vegetarian, vegan. But I think, I'm not just that, but it's very large inside and also has quite a spacious area outside as well. So I don't necessarily think that they would have to cordon the entire area off and then just shut down the entire place for the for that whole passage of filming. So they may still have been able to cope with a certain amount of customers in a small part off one side somewhere. Hi there, Isabella, and thank you for the comment. There are a lot of production companies involved in making films, though, so I think there would be more evidence one way or another. Well, it was either on Sabrina's Instagram or somebody's. There were pictures of the Twin Peaks set kind of being kept in storage. I think things like, for instance, the sign for the sheriff station. I don't know how that popped up somewhere, but it did in the last couple of 2 or 3 years. So it kind of just showed how things were being stored. Not that signals that they're going to immediately, bring it out again to be used. But I think some people have suggested that Lynch and his, company are sort of trying to film things a bit more on the down low, it would seem. And if they are, that would certainly seem to be the case, because this is the first sort of sighting I've actually read about in this sense. So with digital cameras and a very very small crew, it could be possible to film things without having the sort of entourage and rows of trucks with all of the lighting and for the Winnebagos and all that kind of thing that we saw behind the scenes for The Return, where there was David Lynch in a trailer in one of the vans, and then Cheryl Lee comes in with all her Laura makeup on, and that kind of scene. I think, especially after the experience of making The Return, which was basically them trying to make something which looked quite well budgeted, but in reality, from what I heard anyway, it was basically made as if they're making like a low budget feature, and then essentially, obviously, some of the money and resources went in certain ways, so it wasn't always particularly low budget by all means, but I think that they were trying to keep it as straightforward as possible and keep the budget down. So I think that Lynch, after describing, coming back from filming The Return, and after especially at the end of filming, just not being able to climb some steps, and just how exhausted he was, it would only make sense for him to want to do a more minuscule type of production, I think, especially considering also the just really the effect of COVID and how that in some ways could necessitate a much smaller crew, in terms of insurance and all this kind of thing. And I don't know how it is, especially in LA or somewhere. I mean, in terms of the film industry, but I mean, here we've got a cost of living crisis, and people are struggling to pay their gas and electric bills and so on. And they really have increased. So I can only imagine that that's similar in Hollywood, or West Hollywood in this case. So in terms of, like, as well, the idea of Lynch himself funding a thing like this, I think it's not uh, un, unforeseeable. It could occur to a degree, like with Inland Empire, where he put some of his own money into it initially, but not for the whole thing, really, not for the main, um, not for the majority of the budget. So, I think there's got to be funding coming in, but in terms of an overall budget and everything like that, I can easily see things being kept more to a, not necessarily bare minimum, but certainly incredibly downsized, basically. And but that could also mean that the money saved as well, in terms of the actual expenditure of everything, of cast and crew, if it's much smaller as a whole and focused, that basically that money would be able to be spent on um, time, really, just increasing the amount of time available to go dreamy, as Lynch says, or said when he was filming a few different things in the behind the scenes of the return. So it seems to me entirely understandable and logical for them to want to downsize and sort of not having, like, 237 cast members, for instance. So, but that was when they were being bankrolled by Showtime. So we really don't know what's going on now in terms of budgeting, or in terms of Lynch himself and money, because many people will think, okay, yeah, I'm sure that Lynch has got lots of money that he could spend on his own project like this, but we honestly don't know that at all. That may not be the case in the slightest. Um, he's going to have to be, he'll have spent a lot of money on nappies and other things like that, having had a daughter, uh, whilst he's not, exactly young. And he may have burnt through all of his cash buying, other things, really, toys, food, clothes, buying a gym, a jungle gym type of thing for his new daughter, and so forth. And I think in terms of the whole Lynch's involvement with transcendental meditation and the David Lynch Foundation, I don't think that he's motivated to do those by having, like, a regular cash stream or something, because if he wanted really to be bringing in the big bucks, then he would be doing more ads for Christian Dior or perfumes and cars, the new new Nissan model, because he did a car advertisement for Nissan before, probably about 20 years ago. But I think those kind of things, ads for all sorts of different products, are one of the ways in which Lynch has made a living well, really, because I don't think he would have been absolutely raking it in from his films. And I don't really think he's got, like, massive, residuals or anything like that coming in all the time from Mulholland Drive, as much as it's still very popular in its own way as a cult item. Mm. Um, Well, thank you for your second message, and please chime in, Isabella, with any more comments you want to make, because as you can probably see at the moment, there's not a lot of people really tuned in. But that goes for anyone else watching. Please send any messages you like. Actors have agents and contracts, and especially in California, they must be so strict on filming locations, and it must be really expensive to do anything there. I think yeah, it's a good reminder in terms of actors and all these, because that is a big aspect in terms of Lynch filming something, unless he's just going to make a documentary about different places in LA, which I don't think is happening. Um, I will add that, as Agent Cooper said in Twin Peaks, it's sort of a question of paying strict attention when two events happen simultaneously, or words to that effect. Um, it's it just stands out to me, at least, that there was the post from Carl McLaughlin saying it's now 32 years since Twin Peaks season 2 ended. It's why he made comment as, I must be feeling nostalgic, or maybe there's something else in the air, that kind of thing. And then he said, "Don't be a stranger" at the end. I don't know what that means, but it seems to suggest like a get together. And Dana Ashbrook responded with saying, "Yeah, it's been too long." So that could just mean that he wants to meet up socially with Kyle, but these people could respond to each other privately, as I've said before. And, there seems to be something in it all. In terms of, do I believe that this girl spotted something in this restaurant and reported accurately? Based on things I've read about her and around her, I get the impression that she was serious about it. So, and I don't think she's mistook David Lynch for someone else. I think she's heard someone tell her that, or someone has told her that David Lynch is filming there. So, oh yeah, and then also, of course, there's been the comments from Kimmy Robertson where she was asked about this in Texas, and she said that basically more, as in someone was asking, was more filmed and was it left on the cutting room floor from the return? The things, for instance, with Wally Brando, she says, well, a lot was left on the cutting room floor because of COVID, but of course, she's not responding to the filming in 2016. She's talking about how they would have been filming something else in recent years, but it was all put on hold. But I think the way in which Kimmy Robertson worded it and spoke about it, it made it so confusing anyway that she may as well have been kind of talking in the red room or something. So, because she was getting, the time was all loopy, but I think that was deliberate on her part, personally. And many people might say, "Oh, you're thinking too much about it, or it's like thinking too deeply." But I think that all these people that we've spoken about, Dana Ashbrook, Kyle, Kimmy, they're not averse to sort of dropping hints and have done in the past. It's just, she said that in the past that something was going to be announced, for instance, at Graceland, when that event was going to be happening in 2020, the 30th anniversary. That's 3 years now. So make up your own mind on the whole thing. Um, I think in terms of this idea of debunking it, for instance, like on pages on a page on Facebook, I don't think we've actually got enough information to be able to debunk anything. Similarly, in the same way as I don't have enough information, in front of me to fully be able to say that this is 100% true and it is happening. So, it's a 50-50 proposition, and I think we're 100% sure that we're not sure. That's the trouble. But for me, for my own viewpoint on this whole situation, I think that there's most likely something happening in terms of Lynch and company wanting to get going on something, or they've been going on it for a while. But for instance, with Sabrina Sutherland, he's exec producer on Twin Peaks: The Return, and other people connected with it, Lynch would absolutely say to everybody, keep it buttoned and don't say anything. And I think that's really his whole credo, his whole MO. And I totally appreciate him being like that, really, and I respect it. But on the other hand, I would say it's not exactly something that I can completely empathise with either. But I'm not in the situation, so I'll leave you to make up your own minds about this whole thing. And thank you for tuning in, much appreciated, and wishing you all well. See you in the trees.